How's it going? We're here in the Blind Pig in Limerick for the Gore Society. I'm Will. We have the guys from Ensnared, director and writer Paddy Murphy, Steve Spade, and Kevin Kiely Jnr. So first off, tell us a little about yourselves.
We'll go from this side.
Okay, Kevin Kiely Jnr.
The prolific one.
Yeah, I'm from Limerick and I'm an actor, and I play John Galloway in the film Ensnared. A little bit of background about me: I've been at the Old Vic in the West End. I was in Batman: The Dark Knight Rises. I was in World War Z, and I got beaten up or killed in both of those movies. So that sets a premise for this film. I won't give too much away about the plot, but yeah, when there was trouble to be had for a character, the lads thought of me for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, that's me. That's me.
Yeah. I'm Steve Spade. I'm a magician and illusionist. Always had a massive interest in film, and now we set up Spade Lion Productions, which is going to produce film, obviously, and theatre and stuff like that. But I've been 12 years performing, so just kind of push some of my magic knowledge and kind of illusion and that kind of stuff into film as well, and do a lot more darker kind of things. So it was great to get Kevin on board. And obviously Paddy's brilliant story to start with.
And yeah, I'm Paddy Murphy. I'm the writer and director of Ensnared. I'm actually formerly a video game developer, but I got fed up with that world and wanted to go into something a bit more depth and texture. So I went back to writing, and that's kind of where things have led me to this point with Ensnared. But even just meeting Steve and starting Spade Lion, I've gotten the opportunity to work on a lot of cool stuff that we can talk about a little bit later as well. So yeah.
Tell me, what was your inspiration behind Ensnared?
I live out in a place called O'Brien's Bridge. It's a nice little spot, a pure, quaint, rural Irish countryside place. And I was taking a walk one day, and I think I'll be killed for saying this. I think I had a fight with the missus, and I was like sulking as we do. And I went off and I stormed up the bank for a walk, and then I saw something in the water just kind of rippling, and it kind of, I don't know, it can just be the most subtle thing sometimes. It just freaked me out on a level that I can't understand, because it was just a ripple in the water. But that gave me I had seen that EGS were doing a short story contest, and that gave me the premise for that short story. So, and then it's really developed as it's turned into a film. I mean, I got great creative input from everyone involved. I mean, the two lads here, as well as the camera crew that we had, everyone had good ideas, and rather than it being like, no, this is my vision, we made a little creative bubble, and everyone got to really have it.
We were on our way up to Dublin just in the car or whatever, and on the way up, Paddy started telling me the story, which wasn't a stare at the time, it was just a story. And by the end of hearing the story, to me it connected kind of with me, because of the twist and the way the story is, I could kind of relate to it in the way I perform and stuff as well. So it felt like me like a giant magic trick. So straight away I was like, why isn't this already a film? So then we decided we were going to make it. And yeah, then we had to rope Kevin in. Over pints.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you don't get beaten up and killed, don't you?
Fancy a bit more of that. Check my diary. Yeah, I do. Yeah. No problem. Yeah.
How long did it take to write?
The original short that I wrote for Gore Society was really quick, and I was actually a little bit worried when I sent it in, and then I noticed that EGS had said, like, we got some great entries for the short. I was like, oh no, because I literally took about 20 minutes writing the first draft, and then just polished it up a little bit after that, altogether about 3 hours. And then the script was a different story. That took a good bit longer to turn into something that I knew, or hoped anyway, would be visually strong. But yeah, so that's kind of the story there. And then editing is the longest part I've noticed so far. Writing it was grand, editing it's horrible.
What about shooting it? How long did that take?
Too long.
2 days straight, and 36 hours straight.
Yeah, nobody slept. There was no one.
We got both day breaks. So, yeah, it was ridiculous.
We were trying to catch as much night as we could,
and
but we only had really what was essentially supposed to be one day, which was the Friday, to shoot. But we ended up starting on the Thursday night at like 12 midnight and shooting through to like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning the following day.
That's true.
Vaguely.
I can't remember the start, but I definitely remember the end.
Was there a lot of night shooting?
The first night we didn't get as much as we'd hoped. But just there was a couple of like things that went wrong. Is obviously always going to be the case.
And logistics,
yeah. But then once the second night rolled around, we got loads of time to do stuff, and it did work. But we actually did film some reshoots as well of certain scenes about a week and a half later, just to get those exact shots that we wanted, as opposed to kind of just saying, well, we got this, let's work with it. But yeah, it was a drawn out process.
What locations, whereabouts in Limerick?
We did it out in O'Brien's Bridge, where the story was inspired, but in Montpelier Bank as well, so kind of on the Clare-Limerick border the whole time. But
we had to wear green jerseys and blue and yellow
yeah,
the bridge,
yeah, exactly.
just in case.
We did do our studio work in Limerick.
We did all the VOs recorded.
All the voiceovers, all that work was in Limerick.
We did that all with them in conjunction with First Live Radio. They helped us out with that.
Studio and stuff.
So that was great. I mean, yeah, I think part of it was this story. I don't know. There's part of it that for me is very strongly rooted in Limerick and Limerick culture, of people drinking too much and stuff. Being a bit mad.
I don't know why I got the job. Yeah. God Almighty, I'm seeing myself in the mirror here. It's not good. Or it's great. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Steve Spade Productions, or Spade Lion Productions, sorry.
Yeah, Steve Spade's obviously just a stage name. I'm Stephen O'Mara is my real name. But,
what?
Yeah, I know you're not. Yeah, Kevin's his real name. Paddy is actually his real name. Paddy Murphy, the most Irish name I
know. Yeah.
But yeah, it's ideal. Need to get you a pipe. But
red hair.
Yeah, so yeah, the whole Steve Spade thing was a stage name. Spade Lion Productions is kind of a collaborated idea between the two of us, I suppose.
Yeah.
You were going to set up something, and then I was kind of already thinking I wanted to put together a production company that would produce more theatre, for my own stage stuff and more theatre shows. But then when the story kind of came from Paddy and kind of fell into the lap to make it, we decided we're going to start making some short movies as well. And so yeah, it's really early days, and we've already a lot of stuff to come. Yeah, that's Spade Lion.
Yep. What inspired you to shoot Ensnared in black and white?
There's just something about black and white it's a little off kilter, and I mean when I think back on some of my favourite kind of horror and thriller movies throughout like movie history, a lot of them have that edge of the black and white feel. But I mean, I'm trying to tread carefully even here as well about what I say about certain things, because there's a certain component there.
I think we wanted a kind of a traditional classic look to it, so it looked very kind of arty and that kind of thing, but it is your contemporary type horror thriller as well. How do you feel about that?
Well, just to pick up on Paddy's point there about not giving too much away, there's definitely something in the black and white that will allow for the story to develop visually very specifically at various points throughout the film. Case in point, Schindler's List. There's one particular moment in Schindler's List, and if you haven't seen the film, I'll just go into it slightly. There's one character that we don't meet for very long, but stands out by a country mile because of what happens visually in that film, and some of those tools are used in Ensnared.
Yeah.
So there's some of that kind of black and white classical quality to the film in itself, but then it is helped visually from my standpoint. Watching the rushes and the dailies and some of the edits that we've seen up till now, and I think it works. So if you go somewhere in one direction, when you come back, it's more affecting than having to think of something else. But I like the purity of it as well.
If I'm thinking of the same character, I think Robert Rodriguez used a similar tone in Sin City.
Sin Cities. That's actually a little bit.
We premiere Ensnared at the motion pictures at the Red Hen on the 25th, which incidentally is the same time that Sin City 2 comes out. So we won't be there.
We can't make that premiere.
Yeah, we'll have to.
We were supposed to be there. Robbie.
But that's what we're getting at. You know, using the black and white as a tool, as well as it being gorgeous to look at. You know, I think it's the purity of the black and white is very good.
One thing that happened as well is we led into the edit. We've released one trailer already, but it's actually changed even quite visually since the trailer went out, because we said black and white is one thing, but there's a certain look we went for with the actual edit that's there, which is what I call like a really high contrast black and white.
Yeah.
Yet again, like Sin City, where everything is black or white with very little greys in it, and it does give it a really stark visual style that, as Kev said, it just folds up. It just looks beautiful.
Yeah, and as the audience, then you're forced to, or coerced, or asked, or suggested to either fall down on one camp or the other when it comes to actually the narrative and what's going on in the picture. So, so that's quite good. That there's very little room for grey in Ensnared because it's so fast paced and because there's so much going on under the surface as well as above. The black and white stark contrast is great for that. So you have to go, I have to believe in this, or I have to believe in that. There's very little time to kind of not take sides. You have to start thinking quite quickly, and I think the
colour tones give
that all lends itself to that. That all lends itself to that, I would think.
Yeah. Alright. Judging by the trailer, which I loved, by the way, it looks very Lynchian.
Thank you. That's a huge compliment. I'm a massive David Lynch fan. Have been for years and years. I just love what he does. It's onto what Kev was saying about the whole black and white thing. David Lynch films, even though you have very, like as you said, it's black or white, and there is very little room for grey. It's the part you don't see that you think about afterwards. And that's what I think.
The colours in your own brain, essentially.
Yeah, but it's the type of film, like when you finish watching Mulholland Drive, you go home and you go, okay, I get this, but what the hell was the box about? You know, and that's, I love that concept. That
it's the reason why you repeat watch movies that you love, because there's something every time you watch it, you see that little thing that you missed the last time, and it makes the movie a different movie nearly every time you watch it.
Especially with Lynch.
I think Ensnared has that.
Yeah, for sure. I think especially with Lynch films, they had, like Razorhead is the same with the whole black and white thing as well, and it's just such a surreal film. That's what I'm big into surrealist cinema as well.
I've watched Razorhead about 10 times in the last 2 years.
It's a mad one, isn't it?
It's a great film. It really is.
I like David Lynch a lot as a director, and I actually love him as a person even more. He practices something called transcendental meditation.
Oh yeah.
I do a bit of that myself, and I take a stab at the black and white again. Should we talk about black and white again? Because I really love it. But basically, when you meditate, you basically turn your mind off and you get down into the darkness, and you realise that you're connected to everything in the world and the universe. How amazing is that? Great. Love you, man. Love you, man. Love you, man. Like, it's fucking cool, right?
Make sure this interview is in black and white.
Yeah. This interview should be in black and white.
Or in places.
Turn off the colour.
No, but essentially when you meditate, you turn your brain off, and that's the darkness. That's you go in there and there's nothing there. And then when you come out again, you think, if you want, that's like light. So if anything that isn't in your brain, when you've got no thoughts, anything that you think, you're actually having a thought. So that's white. So the colour aspect is kind of, when those thoughts combine, that's when colour starts to come in, and that's when you have dynamic thought. But what you should be trying to do with storytelling is to tell a story in the most specific way possible. And if you can do that, then everyone can access that, and it becomes a universal thing. And I think Paddy and Steve have managed to achieve that. I don't know how. It's kind of the magic has happened somewhere. But for me, the reason that I think
that.
The reason that I think it's Lynchian is that it's successful as a film, and the filmmaker's a really nice person.
I'll try that fibre downstairs.
No, you're great.
He's mad being the second one, isn't he?
Yeah, he's great. Chomping at the bit. Can I fall in love this time?
We'll do a rom-com.
Yeah,
imagine.
We're going to hit
him. We're going to set it in the Golden Grill.
Yeah,
a rom-com.
Absolutely.
We're going to hit him with a red van.
Yeah, it started with a chip.
The funniest thing is there is. I'm really happy to hear that came through in the trailer. A little bit of Lynchian influence, but there was other influences for sure. I think I'm a big fan of Chris Nolan, and particularly his earlier stuff. And
Chris, we go way back.
Best buds.
Yeah.
And Darren Aronofsky as well. I'm a huge fan of Pi, which was again black and white, but yet again it had a really good reason for why it was, you know. So
we've been talking about Hitchcock as well with certain elements.
Well, I've been editing Fright Fest have been showing, our Film 4 have been showing, in the lineup to Fright Fest have been showing all the old Hitchcock movies. I'm watching them, I'm just still blown away. Like, they're just, the way they're edited and the pacing and stuff is just top class.
It's all suspense, yeah, it's brilliant.
It's, you won't get, I mean, you can't even try to get as good suspense horror as that anymore. It's just top class. So, but it is nice to have on the background while I'm editing. It gives you a little some kind of cues. You're like, wow, yeah, you know, Hitchcock was a visionary, and he was doing stuff that people have kind of lost and forgotten about with movies as well.
Are you going to start appearing in shadows?
I am, yeah. I've done it a couple of times actually at home, just with lights and stuff. Yeah, I've been pushing my belly out and stuff.
Oh man,
yeah. And yeah. Oh yeah, that's gas. No, I suppose we're talking about that Australian beach, right? Have you seen that YouTube video where there's a table and there's 2 drinks on it? There's this guy really barrel chested, and he's just like, this girl's running up the beach. She runs past, he lets his chest go and knocks over the whole table. That's really funny. On a site, that made me laugh.
See, we're not all scary. We're very
yeah, yeah.
On the day of the shoot, we might have been more scary because we were all tired.
Yeah.
And but that's one thing I would say as well actually about the shoot, was that shoot could have gone so much worse, because if you had any egos flown in or anything like that, could have just got messy. And but everybody, there was just a great atmosphere, even in times when everybody was just wrecked and just wanted to go home to bed and didn't want to be hanging around a riverbank at 3 o'clock in the morning. Just everybody came together to get it done, which was, I couldn't be happier with for my first film.
Great crew.
So
how was the weather?
the weather was actually, that was during the semi
yeah.
heat wave thing, wasn't it? So it was actually warm and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you were roasting me.
Yeah, no. I won't say roasting, but it was alright.
It was for Ireland. It was about as good as you could hope. If we were shooting now, we'd be proper screwed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we were. Yeah, the gods were with us.
We were lucky.
It was nice.
There was a couple of happy accidents and a couple of blessings shining down on us. Alright.
So after Ensnared, what have you got planned for the future?
We're gonna kill Kev. No.
Yeah. Sounds about right to me.
Only joking. No, that's it.
Say it in a movie at least.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I don't even be said.
Just
As an actor.
Yeah.
No, we have loads of stuff lined up. Too much at the moment, actually, myself and Steve. But and we'd love to. I mean, obviously, with anything else we do going forward as well, there's an element to me that this was my first film. I wrote it and stuff like that. And if I do more stuff, I'd love to work with Kev again as much as possible, because, as I say, for my first film, it could have gone a completely different way.
Well, because the character, it's a deep character, and like,
Paddy.
It is probably the first time, you know, we've told you a heap of times that was a brilliant performance, but it really was. I mean, it's like 100 characters in one, and he played them all brilliantly. It's impressive.
It was a very, I mean, I wrote it,
role.
and it was a difficult role, because this is a person that you want people to be able to connect to on some level, but at the same time, he's a completely isolated, lonely person as well. So, but it's trying to tap into that little bit of everyone, I guess, that has dealt with that.
Yeah, I mean, we all go through that. It's just if you're prepared or not as a storyteller to tell that story, then I'm going to be brave enough to go with you. It's not, I don't go there alone.
Yeah,
I go there with you and for you, and together we get somewhere. So yeah, as long as the minds are all in the same direction, you know, you go through the wall for your director. That's kind of your job. So it was enjoyable. In a macabre sort of way. Yeah, it's kind of like looking under my bed to see and hoping there was something in there. You know?
Yeah, we all creeped out after the shoot. I remember I went home and I was totally freaked.
Especially after the day of the reshoots, I think.
Yeah.
Everyone was super creeped out that night for some reason.
See if you can guess which bits those are. When you see the film. Yeah. But
I think one thing that really stands to Ensnared as well, though, is that, like, I mean, I'm a big fan of all horror. I'm a huge horror fanatic, and I love goofy gore horror. I love serious horror. I love everything, and I just I found that with this, it is almost not horror. It is almost bordering on more of a thriller, but at the same time, there is that part in there that's all about the psyche and the mind and how that's so terrifying and dangerous, and it is. And I think anyone that's ever had any experiences of that, like, is in just being at war with your own mind.
Yeah, from the Shakespeare plays, everything that happens in Shakespeare that is awful happens off stage. And the reason he does that for is 2 reasons. The first reason is that if you're going to do a special effect, it has to be magnificent in order to be believed. The second is that if you make something really subversive happen that you don't see, but it's reported back, then the version that you hear and see is the version in your own mind, and that's what's really scary. Is if we can get people to actually see things that we don't suggest to them. That we don't show to them. We just suggest them, and then they see it anyway, and then the question then is, oh, am I that scary as well? And the answer is yes, of course.
And
we all are human beings.
Because it's not one gore moment or whatever. It's got that slow burn. You know, it comes to you later on that night. It comes to you the next day. It's the next time you watch the movie, or the next time you talk to your friend about the movie. So it's got that continuous kind of eating away at you, which is, I suppose, that's what we want to do. We're kind of sadistic people.
So want people to go home and cry into their pillows.
Go and cry.
But yeah,
I do like knitting though.
On a side note.
Yeah.
He knit that coat.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah. Well, I suppose you got needles as well, haven't you?
You really can darken anything.
Yeah.
Knitting suddenly becomes this terrifying. That's the next movie, right?
Knitting away.
The knitter.
We actually caught Kevin.
I weave clothes out of skin.
We actually caught Kevin on set singing, and then as soon as he realised that he was singing, he decided to darken it down and turn back into John, and it was terrifying.
Yeah,
it's in the bloopers.
It's in our blooper reel, and it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah.